Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be beginning with our next panel discussion, which is on digital adoption, indispensable for real estate sales and marketing. The session will be moderated by Mr. Rahul Phondge, Chief Business Officer, ANAROCK Residential. May I now invite the esteemed panelists, Mr. Anil Nair, CEO India, VMLYNR, Mr. Shajay Jacob, MD and Country Head, Apna Complex, Ms. Reza Sebastian, Residential Embassy Group, Mr. Gaurav Jain, Head Growth Business, Facebook India, and Mr. Rajiv Dash, Head Sales and Marketing, SD Corp. Welcome, panelists. May I now request Rahul to kindly take over the session. Over to you, Rahul.
If you can give me a minute, let me just settle my system.
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, Sajay.
Hey Rajiv, how are you? Hi.
Good, good. You came back from Dubai, but you're not met us.
I think I've been more in Bangalore than in Dubai.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Mr. Rajiv, hello, Mr. Rajiv. Can I request you to kindly lower your camera? Your face is not clearly visible, sir. Yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Perfectly fine.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Superb. Thank you very much. Thank you, CII, for this fantastic session. I think this is one interesting panel what we have. We managed to pull in a different perspective, right from the developer side to the media side, to the AI side, and of course the entire CRM which we have been talking about. So welcome you all. We'll start the session. We have seen the last 11 has been a joyride for all of us, especially on the digital front. I mean, two things became very difficult sitting at home and when we were in lockdown. One was, of course, the maid of the house when they will come back and resume the service. And second was Wi-Fi, wherein all our business operation interaction is happening at once. So there has been a behavioral change which is happening in all of us, which we have witnessed. Mobile as a device has increased its consumption. OTT platform has seen a huge spike in the overall approach. In real estate, what we have observed at ANAROCK Digital as an agency has started contributing to 35 to 40%, which was otherwise around 20-25% of that. So there has been a sea change which we have seen in digital. And thanks to all the experts who's there on board, I would love to have your views as well. Starting with my first question, probably we can start with Anil and later on with Gaurav also. I would love to have views in terms of how the Indian real estate sector has actually traversed the journey of offline to online post-pandemic. Also, which business functions have we seen a digital adoption?
Fantastic. Thank you, Rahul. Hello, fellow panelists. And it's amazing that we are using this medium now to have a conference where otherwise we would have all been traveling. I still remember the last such conference we attended was a physical event in Kochi with Rahul.
Yes.
So much has changed in the last 1 year. It's interesting that you asked this question. The pandemic has literally been a tipping point for many, many categories, and one really interesting category that I always wondered about was the real estate sector, because it is so much of a intermediary driven touch feel kind of a space. And when I spoke to my counterparts in the real estate space, obviously, like most other industries, the first few months were a state of shock, and given the various lockdowns and the uncertainty that was there. But as I speak to them, towards the latter part of what is happening in the pandemic, one, I hear that consumer interest in the real estate sector is coming back. People are, there is a desire shown by people to come back and look at projects. And more importantly, I think people have realized the importance of having a place, having more space, having a good enough space for families to kind of conduct their business, because most people today are working from home. And given all of that, I have also seen, again, most of my peers from real estate adopt digital in a really, really interesting way. If I were to, summarize this in terms of where has most of the investments gone, one has been in the experience sector, which is how do you still give customers the same physical touch and feel experience while sitting in the comfort of their homes. That's number one. The second area has been in the entire search space, which is how do you make access to information that much faster. The third space is, obviously the conversion space, which is how do I ensure that I close any potential leads? How do I reach leads, and how do I kind of close those leads as quickly as possible? And last but not the least is in the entire data-driven space, which is how do I get first-party data so that I am able to kind of create a picture of my customer and personalize the offerings to him. So these are some of the areas that I've seen traction, and all of them are very, very serious and things that can really impact the sector.
Interesting, Anil. I love the way you summarize the comfort, the access, the lead gen, and the entire convenience factor. Maybe Gaurav, I mean, I'm sure you must be there at the nerve center when it comes to the entire digital transformation which is being happening. What are your views on the question being asked?
Sure. Firstly, thank you, Rahul. I'm glad to be part of this panel and giving my 2 cents on what is happening in real estate, especially from an online pivot point of view. And hello to fellow panelists. Rahul, so over the years, we've seen developers realize this need to reach the potential buyers through a judicious mix of both offline and online campaigns, right? Now, think of early 2000s, real estate sector was basically offline. However, over the last decade, we have witnessed a move towards a mix of this. As the Indian real estate players showed an interest also in developing projects that create a sort of a global market. Now, you could argue this is the adoption of several digital first initiatives, even pre-lockdown. But I would say that was limited to, let's say, online listing of properties, virtual tours for some luxury projects, etc. Now, with the onset of the global pandemic, I think this shift has accelerated, thereby setting the stage for reality players to sort of acquire digital products. The preference of the new age home buyer has fundamentally changed owing to the crisis, and it is imperative for the developers and the aggregators to adopt newer technologies that will ease the entire home buying process, right? For this new age buyer. And to bring all this together and present it in the most dignified, most accessible manner, online tools like virtual presentations, drone view tours, virtual tours, webinars like we're doing now emerge as the most cost-effective measures. Now, our online journey for any real estate developer or aggregator essentially begins with, simply by by a web page. It may be a Facebook for business page, it may be an Instagram for business page. And then using advanced and personalized communications, reach out to the customers that matter most to them. So right from lead generation to video views for increased awareness, to augmented reality, to now chatbots, right? The investment that we are seeing made by the real estate players online has seen an accelerated shift, especially post the pandemic. And I only see it growing in the coming years.
Interesting, interesting. I love when you talked about new age process, how the technology has facilitated the entire journey of real estate buying and the advanced personalized viewing. It's so addictive. I'm sure the entire time spent on Facebook is growing and has grown almost for 40-50% or so. Coming to Rajiv, you have seen one trial, I think 3-4 years back in your earlier avatar with Tata Housing, wherein one of your project was being launched on digital front. So you have seen partly. What has been your experience this time?
Hi Rahul. Rahul, I think it's been a journey for digital. If you see, digital started with a brand building exercise where we used to think that digital will target certain segments. Then from the brand building exercise, we went to the lead generation process. So a couple of years back, we were thinking that, okay, brand building is done now in digital space. Now talk about lead generation. So we started talking about CPL, what is your CPL, what is the digital CPL. So we started comparing the CPL aspect. Now if you see, last 1 year or 1.5 years, it's about creating experience. What Anil was talking about, creating experience, that is what has started happening in digital space. And because of the creation of experience, today I can say that some of the projects have started marketing with digital first. And we have started doing some projects also in Bombay, which is now digital first in terms of the media planning. And that is the great thing for digital, mainly because it's not only the lead generation, but also digital is a two-way communication now. So when you think about digital, don't think from brand building or lead generation, but please make it more engaging with social media aspect. I think that is the good thing about digital is that it's an engagement process and it's a two-way now. Not only lead generation, but have an engagement process with social media aspect, which is your influencer program, engage with the customer. I think that is the great thing about digital now. It has gone beyond the limits of being a lead generation, brand building, giving you sales revenue and the referrals now. I think that's a good thing about digital being there.
Interesting, Rajiv, when you touched about digital first or digital only launches, which marketers are now super confident that the launches can happen on digital itself. Coming to Visa, Embassy has a huge legacy. It's a big brand, and I'm sure there will be certain certain opportunity or pressure in terms of how to internally convince the entire management in terms of here is a transformation happening. There is a huge demand and customers are now available on digital. What has been your journey in the last 11-12 months to promote resi projects or a portfolio in digital?
Thank you so much, Rahul, and a very warm welcome to all the listeners to this panel and welcome to the other panelists as well. For us at Embassy, I think, this constant struggle, I think, between the CMO and the CFO is real, right? Why are we spending our money and what do we need to spend our money on? So over the last 12 months, a larger part of the marketing budget has been extremely focused on performance-based marketing, like lead generation, for example. So if you take that forward, when we started off with the pandemic and all the crisis that ensued, we mobilized our entire digital platforms to engage in conversations with the audience that would be organic, what we stand for as a brand, and furthering our corporate responsibility. But once that exercise was done, we kind of started focusing on our performance-based marketing, which helped us to compare our spend impact across the media, analyze the brand impact across the consumer's entire decision journey, right? Allocate our campaign resources more effectively, tailor content. We have also found out that having this very unified kind of a customer view has helped us to have a very clear view of the return on marketing and spend, and provides that very important bridge, like I said, between the marketing and finance team. How much is the money and what is the money getting us? So this very data-driven perspective on marketing performance has allowed us to develop more thoughtful and aligned strategies for the marketing spend. But like my fellow panelists have been saying, I would say that the future of brand management is also about connecting that brand experience with customer experience. I think we are focusing less on clever media planning, but more on identifying, solving problems, focusing on the art of brand creation, on storytelling, focusing on journeys. We realize that the customer experience today has to be delightful, it has to be personalized, it has to be relevant, and it has to be empathetic, all at the same time. And I would say that there are three things to this strategy. There is just too much information out there. So it is important for a developer to create a very strong and recognizable brand, because that what increases customer confidence, it shapes the ownership experience, and it influences the buying decision. Also, secondly, I would say it is about designing a very effective digital customer journey based on high value content, right? So that strategy then should be scalable, it should allow for cross-sell, it will require lesser overheads and render a lot of real-time actionable insights. But more importantly, marketing, digital or otherwise, has to be coupled with strong distribution. For instance, today, Embassy, even though we rely a lot on marketing, channel partners continue to contribute over 60% of our business. So while we create all the art of storytelling, branding online, product innovation, stellar service during construction handover, and most importantly, quality products, timely delivery will define and build your brand.
Interesting, Lisa, how you started with completely on performance and ROI, and then quickly shift gear in terms of what is relevant for customers. I think, Shajai, while all the panelists have been talking about the primary purchase, how to lure customers on, persuading them to buy a residential as a space, you have a different, relatively evolved format. If you can tell us a minute about the platform, because it's relatively a different genre of real estate, wherein your platform is actually customers are living, breathing their actual lifestyle in the residences which they are living in, whether it is facility management, whether it is the way the society has been managed upon, so on and so forth. So probably it will be good to hear you how the Apna complex as a platform being built upon, and what has been the transformation which you will see in near future.
Thanks, Rahul. Thank you, fellow panelists. And I have two of my favorite brands and developers on this panel. One is, of course, Embassy and SD Corp, and two good friends also on the same panel. Great. I actually want to step back a little bit and give a few comments on why digital has been so important. I've lived various lives, and Rahul, you've been witness to that. A life of a marketer, life of a business guy doing cross-border, and life of a tech specialist now, just embarking on that journey. So when I was a marketer, digital used to form maybe 10 to 15% of the entire marketing budget. It was good to do, right? I think that over the last decade or so, come to now, I think the rest of them have become good to do, where digital has to form a large part of the plinth of what we are communicating, what we are experiencing, what we are getting the buyer to discover. So marketing budgets itself have turned topsy-turvy, which is, and probably also because of the reason why it's easier to justify what you're spending on. And there are clear ROI measurement metrics. Of course, Lisa and Rajiv both touched upon that, right? And I have lived this entire journey, and I see this entire change, from my past life. For a business guy who's based in Dubai, when I see the kind of journey that the consumer had to live in selling to such consumers, there was always a touch and feel involved pre-COVID. Huge touch and feel. There was somebody, even if you discovered the customer through an online media, the customer had to visit the site to actually buy the product, or at least get someone to visit the site, which today has got completely minimized. Because today, with for example, in Bombay, with the stamp duty, time being on a ticker till 31st March, most consumers are saying to hell with seeing the apartment. Let me just get the apartment and site visit done through a Zoom call. Hold the camera and the phone, and developers are coming out with innovative thoughts on how to entirely re-engineer the entire experience. And of course, that is really changing the entire mindset of how people perceive and buy property. Right, and so in my opinion, that site visit itself will disappear after some time. The fact is, this is completely going to get disrupted by digital. So whilst the entire discovery of the buyer and the experience of selling the product itself has gone digital and accelerated big time, right? It's the end journey of the conversion or the purchase which is now being disrupted. And I think India is going to be at the forefront of this exercise, like China has always been, right? Coming to how the entire buyer's journey post his acquisition, and that is where Apna Complex forms a unique space, which is to say that let me automate the buyer's life post his acquisition in the gated complex. So whether it is actually ensuring that his maintenance payments, earlier what maintenance payments, bills used to go by an email, sometimes the email used to come, the bills used to be sent across, slipped underneath the door. Somebody had to go write a check, send it to the Dropbox of the society, or make an EFT payment. All that is now being disrupted. The fact is that through such apps like Apna Complex, one can actually make a payment directly through a payment gateway, and boom, the payment is done. And it's like a 5-second job. Communication on security and notifications. One doesn't need to get to the intercom. So your traditional phone lines, every time someone moved into a new home, and Riza, you probably agree with me, the first thing is, mera intercom kahan hai? Where is my intercom? Who's setting up my intercom facility? Right? That intercom facility is vanished because such apps take care of the intercom. You just need a notification, whether it's Zomato coming in, whether it's your Uber car which is coming in, or whether it's your maid who's actually entering the society daily. And then you don't need to keep track on a roster as to how many times she's entered, not entered. The app takes care of it all. Plus complaints. My plumbing has leaked. The plumbing has leaked somewhere in the building. There's seepage as soon as you enter a new apartment. A snag list is created. Earlier when you used to move into a new apartment, you used to create a snag list. Like there's the 30 thing, you need to go chase the developer, and the developer then gives it to a third party. Today it's all recorded on an app, and every time something is sorted out, there is an automatic tick which is put in, right? That then online polls, whether you should have a tennis court over there, whether you should have a squash court, or whether you put a cricket or a football field in the middle, all of those polls can be run, whether it's even polling on getting a management committee adopted. So all of these things, automating the life of the entire buyer post the purchase is what where the next level of disruption is, and I'm really happy to say Apna Complex is at the forefront of it. So that is.
Super, and I love when you shared a glimpse about your Dubai journey, how NRS has been looking at, and also quickly talking about how the societies is being managed in this new format, which is absolutely convenient, rich on data. While I'm looking at the screen, I'm seeing each of you are sitting with tons and tons of data, which is my next question, and I'll pick brains of Anil. Most of the marketeers, most of the developers are sitting on tons and tons of data, whether it is prospect, whether it is people who are not interested, people who are interested, people who are booked, people who are leaving, so and so forth. Majority of the time, the developers struggle in terms of how the intelligence can be built upon that. You are in the cusp wherein the entire predictive buying, programmatic, and everything can be worked upon. I would love to have your views in terms of how the businesses should be looking at the data in more evolved manner.
Sure. For a business which is about people, I think the greatest tragedy is the fact that great first-party data, which ideally most of these brands should be having, unfortunately end up being discrete buckets where with every launch, with every campaign, a bunch of data gets obsolete as opposed to building on it. So first piece is, creating a collection, data collection methodology and the structure and processes within most of these organizations. Now, the big question people ask is, that means that there will be a huge amount of investment involved. Collection of data is an attitude. If you want to do that, you can even maintain it on an Excel sheet. But today there are lots of formats, structures, and platforms available to kind of help you even maintain some kind of a database. Once you do that, data needs to be refreshed. And again, you need to hire within marketing a certain set of people who can kind of do that. But most important is the application of the data that you collect, because one, it helps you in your marketing planning, in cohort creation, in kind of ensuring that the next time you segment and target, you're doing it out of some kind of native intelligence and not out of gut feel or competitive pressure. That's point number one. Point number two is it helps you in your media targeting in terms of the ability to kind of create lookalike target audiences and stuff like that. But most importantly, to what Shajay was speaking about and stuff like that, today we are talking about a connected consumer experience, and any prospect can be tomorrow's consumer. Any prospect's relative can be our consumer. People are talking about concepts like customer lifetime value. Just because they bought, earlier most Indians just wanted to have that one house in their lifetime. Today, people are looking at rental differently. People are looking at buying multiple houses, their second home and their third home. So it is. I genuinely feel that though there is no direct ROI from first-party data and the processing of the data, I believe that this is an investment that people need to do. And with all the wall gardens out there who are trying to kind of, and all the privacy laws that are coming in, I advocate and evangelize this with most brands, saying have your own first-party data. It will help you in the long run.
A lot can be done. I think you touched upon the point. The better the understanding of the data, the traction, the ability to maximize the ROI, the engagement is much far more superior. That's the key takeaway. I just wanted to go to Gaurav. I think you are almost having a global exposure in terms of various countries, how the Facebook is being operating. In terms of the last 11, 12 odd months, then you see the huge paradigm shift in terms of Indian market, whether it is any other sector, including real estate or so. What has been your advice or observation, etc., when we look at developed countries like US, UK, etc., vis-a-vis India? Are we good? Good to compare? Are we unique, different? What has been your observation on that front?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rahul. So I was reading this Morgan Stanley Digitization Index, right? And this is across the globe. And what they clearly pointed out was that real estate is the second least digitized industry world over. And I believe India is no exception to this, right? So as a sector, I think this has been one of the slower adopting sectors overall globally. But let's talk about between India and the developed world, right? So while some of the developed nations are adopting, edge virtual tour platforms like, Matterports of the world, India is catching up well, let me say, to the overall digitization trend. See, one thing is for sure, today's consumer is online. Every moment you as a developer or as an aggregator are not reaching out to them, someone else is. So it is only a matter of time before, it will almost become a no-brainer for anyone and everyone to reach out to consumers where they are, where they are consuming their time. Specifically, Rahul, I think there are some trends we see picking up in India, which we already see globally. One, like I think my fellow panelists spoke about, the consumer journey moving on. And that is across all stages of the consumer journey, right? Right from, are they interested to buy a property in a certain region, country or continent, to the actual, virtual site visits, etc., etc. So consumer journey moving online is one. Second one that I see in India is what I would call sort of the automated marketing strategies. So let me explain that, right? By going digital first, developers now have an opportunity to develop personalized real-time messages through their prospects. And a well-rounded automation system has not only magnified the customer experience, but also streamlined the marketing efforts and effectively giving the marketers a 360-degree view of all the data points in their marketing campaigns. We also see an increased adoption of CRM systems, something which may seem very basic to all of us on the panel. But trust me, we are at that stage. Even the adoption of CRM systems is a big milestone. And as we all know, they help in tracking the milestones in your sales funnel, tracking the contacts, following up with clients. The third one, Rahul, is an interesting one and a new one, right? A very nascent stage in India is what I would call securing the post-sales process online. So think of things like closure of deals, paperwork, payments have traditionally remained completely offline. I also expect them to move online, and along with loan processing and the entire payment space. Developers will naturally start looking for secure gateways. They will use video conferencing solutions to ensure smoother transactions. And all this enhances consumer confidence and trust, right? Hopefully, I think going forward in the very near future, we may have to do lesser paper and a very simple two-foot documentation when buying a home online. The last one, and again, this is again very picking up very sharply in the India market, is what I would call influencer marketing, right? Traditionally, you can see a lot of CPG players, the tech telco brands in India utilizing this. But I think there is a lot of scope for adoption in influencer marketing in real estate in India. And I can almost say that it could be one of the most crucial digital marketing trend that one can implement by a long shot.
Interesting. So we are not that bad. That's what you're hinting at when it comes to adoption of digital as far as India market is concerned. And because it's a comparison happening on the global front, I would want to go to Sujay in his earlier avatar where he was driving the entire international market for ANAROCK as a business is concerned. Shajai, you were at the tip of the things wherein digital as a medium was hygiene for NRI purchase, correct? Now, when we've seen the entire transformation of resident market, what do you see? Did NRI have an edge on buying? Did they see a huge opportunity in Indian market during this time? What has been your observation as far as NRI buyers are concerned? Sorry, Shajai, you're on mute.
Sorry, Rahul. I had raised my hand because I wanted to, say something in aid of what Gaurav had actually said, which is that possibly the entire payment and the entire collection for the consideration for an apartment can be moved online, which is interestingly, Gaurav, we are working at Apna Complex with a leading developer in assimilating the entire CRM system onto the application, so that it becomes a buyer's application and then transforms naturally into a apartment owner's application. So the buyer's application will actually prompt the buyer and send notifications as and when there is a payment due as per the building slabs being completed, or there's a timeline for payment if there is a loan to be taken. So it actually seamlessly will integrate with the CRM system of the developer post-sales perspective, and payments can be made through a collection gateway, which is integrated at the back end through the NEFT at the buyer's bank account. So that's anyways, as you rightly prompted, it's anyways started in India, right? And so that's a big sell-through. And then of course that has a natural segue into the entire resident application. But yeah, to answer your question again, Rahul, we're seeing digital becoming not only hygiene but mandatory. Earlier, and our conversations, Rahul also, is a large digital, aficionado, and obviously he spearheads a large team of digital professionals, and obviously the demands on digital to generate business is extremely high. And post-COVID, I mean, it has become mandatory. There is no business without digital. One has to, abide by digital, and digital in its various forms, and it's not just, SEO, SEM, but the other aspects of digital also, whether it's social media marketing, whether it's the entire lead generation, whether it's even Facebook. Facebook has become a huge source of digital discovery for the buyers, right? So, and that clearly has become, the process of acceleration of digital as a lead discovery and conversion mechanism has become even more important. I was reading in the CII survey today, that the fact is that the maximum buyers in post-COVID have been in the 40 to 90 lakh category. And this is that category of affordable housing which has actually prompted the resurgence of real estate, and of course luxury, not to take that out of the question. But this affordable section does look at digital as their first search option. And if a brand is not present online, whether it's through a channel partner, which Riza had said, the channel partners, and we happen to be a channel partner, a big channel partner, right, in the NRI market. So as a channel partner, if we are not on digital, and the developer is not on digital, we might as well forget about the customer. I mean, the customers are going to come to us. So extremely high, moving on from hygiene to mandatory. And for those who are not there in the digital game, I think business is going to become extremely tough.
Rahul, can I add on to what Shajay actually mentioned?
Yes, please.
Okay, so in 2018, we launched an online portal for the first time in India when we launched a project called Embassy Edge at Springs. This was designed for the millennials. It was India's first Alexa-enabled homes. So here we were designing a product for people under 35 years of age. And we had to figure out how did they consume information, So research showed that about 56% identified online as their main source of information, and just 16% looked at print. Google and Facebook together account for about 70 to 80% of India's digital advertising. So the entire marketing strategy actually moved online. Now I'm talking 2018. Not a single brochure was printed. Now this portal not only enabled online booking, but catered to entire post-sales management with features like, allowed customers to manage their accounts, track construction, manage their documentation, raise tickets for issues, real-time virtual support. And by downloading this app, they could stay connected through their journey with us. And the products of phenomenal success. But the way the digital footprint of India is moving is extremely interesting, because we are saying that 200,000 Indians go online for the first time every day that passes. There are over 500 million active internet users in India, which leads to a humongous amount of digital footprint. And what this is allowing us to do is to deep dive into big data and derive knowledge about consumer behavior, not only from a buying perspective, but even for us to understand how are we serving our potential market? How can we design products for the future? So this entire aspect of tracking user journeys, calculating ROI, helping with budget optimization, what is the health of individual campaigns, all that is being made possible through digital. But again, I add on to the fact that companies today are investing a lot in technology, but a lot of the technology is remaining underutilized because they're not investing in employee capabilities. So the companies who are investing in technology also need to invest in the employees to reap the benefits of the technology that's being made available to them. And this will have to be aligned in order to achieve the sales and the transformation that we are ultimately looking for.
Rahul?
Interesting, Riza.
Rahul, if I can add one point, Rahul, at the end of the day, real estate is a high ticket purchase and very highly involved category. So your digital cannot be compared with the other categories that we have seen in terms of penetration. There are two buckets to the digital. One is that, okay, you are creating leads. Lead generation is part of it. Yes, that you cannot ignore. But are you getting sales closer? That is the aspect that is now we need to talk about. I think lead generation, CPL, digital first, that's been done now. If you remember when we did that project launch through Facebook 5 years back, Anil was part of it. And that was a kind of case study in the industry that somebody did a project launch through Facebook as a social media. And if you remember, that was successful. It was very, very successful. We did 250 sales in 10 days. And that's purely, if you remember, one of the insight that came is because it was from a brand like Tata's. So digital picked up not only leads but sales. But that was a time when the brands used to do that bit of work because of the credibility. If somebody is in Dubai or US, he'll pick up a brand that he is known to and he'll have that credibility with the brand. But today that has changed. It's not only brand, any good product, good project, who has that kind of track record of delivery and execution, which Riza was talking about, they have started getting the mileage from digital, not only lead generation, but slowly getting into the lead closer and sales. That's one aspect. The second aspect that I want to touch upon was that digital works when your distribution is there. Real estate is not about getting only because as Riza was also talking about, 60 to 70% sales comes from channel partner, right? So it's not only that you do a brand building, direct newspaper, digital ad, and your sales is done. If you have to look after your distribution today, once you start your digital campaign, your channel partners are asking for the digital toolkit. It's not that toolkit, it's a digital toolkit. You need to give them that toolkit that they can also start activation. And that is the best thing about real estate today is that all your channel partners are geared up. They want your digital kit so that they can start their activation. And if you see in totality, the developer, the marketer is starting the digital activity, your channel partners are starting the activity. So entire surrounding is created. So if you have to ask which other medium will give you this kind of surrounding, I don't think anybody like a print or a radio or outdoor can give you that kind of surrounding. Today, because the channel partners also are geared up, they are investing on digital flow. So you are getting the mileage. So it is a good initiative by the developers to get the channel partner also into digital medium. And we have started a program where we started doing the training program. How to advertise in Facebook and other mediums. We give that training program to the channel partners so that they can start activating their lead generation process. And that's working for us. I think that is where the future is going to move. One is that you are micro targeting, when we can do a lot of micro targeting about the profile, whether it's to AI and ML. That is working. The programmatic way of doing lead generation is really helping us because that is where your lead, the cost per lead is coming down. If your programmatic is working well, your cost per lead is coming down and you can create more leads with a conversion ratio of 2 to 3%, you are getting sales and your ROI works. So that is where today the digital medium is more efficient because you can track it, you can evaluate the quality of the lead and then take it to the site visit and then close it. So if you see the funnel, it works well for a digital platform because you're creating lead, qualifying it, taking them to site visit and close them. And after closing, if he is happy with the entire customer journey, he is giving you a referral. So your ROI is maximum as a digital front, and that is where it's going to be the future.
Rajiv, loved your point, especially you come up with these nomenclatures of broker toolkits and why sales is important and why brokers or channel partners are going to be the integral part of our digital penetration. Because at the end of the day, they are the brand ambassadors on that. Talking about brand ambassadors, I know Embassy as a group or SD Corp as a group has a huge legacy. And a large image management is being required for such an intense category like real estate of ours. How do you see social media or the entire online reputation management should be looked upon when we know for the fact that it's going to be hygiene when the customers or existing buyers are going to judge or build perception about developers' brand on what content is available or what reviews or whatever has been shared about the brand on the online front. Riza, you want to take that or Rajiv Vijay?
See, Rahul, my point of on the reputation management is that whether you love it or hate it, you cannot ignore it. So you need to be there, because that's the best tool that you can engage with the customer. Your one positive word of mouth in social media helps you to get that lead process more efficient. It's the best thing that to happen in is that it's communication. I do an advertisement, whether it's a lead generation, a display ad, I multiply that kind of amplification through social media, and that helps me. If I don't do social media, I do only lead generation and display ad, my amplification will not be there. So my site working, if I'll see, it will not be so much. But when I do a 360-degree approach within the digital platform, then I start getting the leads and the walk-ins coming to the site. And that is the power of social media that you need to tackle. Yes, there is a part of it which is you need to handle the reputation management. Be clear what customers are talking about you. You need to take it up depending upon the product issue talking about, or it is a brand image sensitive to the response. I think one thing is very clear that one need to be very responsible in terms of responding within the timeline, making that you everything, whether it's a product issues or a brand issue, whether it's engineering team has to give you the response or the legal team has to give you the response, get the right response and send that response to the customer. And it's the only way that you can tackle is that customer, nothing else. It's that just respond to the customer.
Interesting. Riza, I would love to have your views, how you have been managing it.
So here I would say that, there are essentially three broad trends that we have to look out for to add to what Rajiv was saying. We have to ensure that our communication remains very individualized, you can't have mass communication going out. Like we said, it's high involvement product. It's very, very customized buying. There is a usage experience that is being provided to the customer. So the involvement of AI, etc., and the use of social media is very rapid, but we need to ensure that the customer journey remains extremely personalized. There is a huge role that is being played by back-end functions like marketing, sales, service, and even internal functions like operations, finance, human resources. So this we need to provide a very seamless and omni-channel experience to the customer. So that integration of all customer-facing roles with the back-end roles is extremely important. We also need to make the communication very interactive. Customers, marketers will quickly substitute direct and physical interactions with digital ones. So we need to find ways to connect, engage, and bond with customers. At Embassy, we say that while we say 60% of our business comes from channel partners, our customer referrals and loyalty programs give us about 25 to 30% of our business. So we need to ensure that these interactive experiences, even though if they're delivered digitally or face to face, are actually the powerful differentiators for the winning brands. So we need to create that very, very sustained competitive advantage, involve interactive and immersive elements, and all of this will combine to form a part of the marketing strategy to engage with customers throughout their journey with the brand from pre-purchase, purchase, use, and post-purchase stages.
Interesting. And as we are moving ahead, there are internal, structures changes which is being happening. The way we should be building our teams, considering the digital is going to be the forefront of all our strategies, etc. I will be keen, Gaurav, in terms of your future. I know for the fact that we look up to what kind of platforms, what kind of insight which will be coming across for marketers to start engaging with the customers. What we should be expecting from Facebook in near future? Are there any new platforms, any new products which you'll be bringing into the market for us to look out for?
Yeah, I mean, Rahul, like I was pointing out earlier as well, right? I think the digital transformation of the real estate sector in India is just beginning, and we are in good space, good hands. I think developers and aggregators like you are taking all the right steps. I think even the existing tools, right, are not completely utilized. So, for example, a lot of panelists spoke about how can we get the right leads from the prospective customers. Are we utilizing enough big data? Is there enough machine learning involved to make that data actionable? I think that's one big area which is yet to be explored, right? The second one, Rahul, I would clearly call out is the virtual reality and augmented reality. I think that part of the funnel, that part of the classic marketing funnel, if you will, remains underutilized. What percentage of our prospective buyers actually end up visiting and not visiting the site, but taking the decision completely through online. And then there is loyalty and customer retargeting, etc. Specifically, Rahul, I would like to talk about what are the advantages that a digital marketing can offer if you were to compare it to a traditional forms of marketing, right? So first one would be clearly to how do you boost and amplify your exposure through better reach and brand awareness. I can tell you, if property developers were to take advantage of this, it would increase their visibility to a target market and demographic of buyers. Establishing an online presence will grant the developer ability to generate more leads and thus increasing the possibility of successfully converting those leads into actual sales. The second one should be and would be identifying and understanding the target market and their needs. So like someone on the panel mentioned, right? Digital marketing is now a core part of any marketing plan. And as developers gain control over who they reach out to and at what stage, I think it becomes very, very powerful. In fact, Facebook has a lot of tools to enable geographical reach of engagement and give the marketeers the capability to sort of tailor the audience to a specific age, gender, and multiple other factors. The third one, Rahul, is, and I think which is less spoken about even today, right? I think the biggest advantage is the measurability. Everyone wants to know what is it that I got in return for every dollar spent, right? Frankly, it has just been a black box for most realtors. Today, there are means to track the entire customer journey, right from viewing an impression to the final closure of sale, even to the extent of the number of touch points that it took the user to convert. So measurement, flexibility, ease of reach, efficiency of reach has made digital a almost a no-brainer for advertisers looking, especially for scalability. Well, there is a flip side to it also. So many teams working independently to close in on a sale, attribution of cost becomes a challenge. And I can tell you, there are certain advertisers, real estate advertisers in the country who arrived at this proper attribution model. And, they clearly know this is where I need to spend if I need to get better ROI at efficient cost along with the reach. And the last one, Rahul, I would definitely, of course, we are all in the business of business, right? Is cost efficiency. There is a long road to closing a real estate deal. We all with online advertising, I think the power that the advertisers and the developers get is that more people can interact and make basic decisions on the listed property without having to be, present on a physical location. The opportunity for customers to interact virtually, it not only saves time and money, but it sort of shortens the entire, decision cycle. And then, of course, there are these cutting edge things like, WhatsApp API or Facebook or Messenger bot that is being used in very, very creative way. Like, I can give you an example. There is a leading Indian online real estate aggregator that we work with. They use WhatsApp Business API to automate the way they collect property photos and upload them to property listings, right? And that resulted in literally a 20x annualized return on saving on investment purely through savings. So I think while a lot is yet to come, I think the existing technologies are also not being completely utilized by everyone.
I've got a message is loud and clear. If it is Facebook, it has to be performance. And wait and watch, there are newer and newer avenues which will be coming, which is relevant for marketers. While we have 4-5 minutes left, I want to sneak in one more question, which is an interesting one. We have seen from, people we are getting into regional, and one of the convenient preferred language for real estate is largely English when it comes to digital space, so and so forth. one of the recent time what we have seen, is that the vernacular language or regional language as a preferred use language has been increased by 10 times. Would you see marketeers or real estate for that matter would generate or engage content on a regional level? Probably, Anil, you may want to pick it up, followed by Gaurav and others if it is okay.
Sure. Considering the ticket value that we were speaking about, and also considering the fact that this is once in a lifetime kind of a investment that people do, English, most people of this particular strata do understand English. But I also see real estate development happening in the tier 2, tier 3 kind of cities. There's a lot of migration that is happening today between cities, and in that sense, I would always look at regionalization as an important strategy. So you should keep the core of your brand in English, but like I said, digital is about convenience, and if convenience means that people access it in a language of their comfort, then we should make it a point to kind of. But this need not be deregular. This needs to be taken on a case-by-case basis. Is my point.
Interesting. Gaurav, your point, if I may ask.
Yes, sure. I mean, all you rightly said, right? Literally every month, there are millions of people coming to internet on the first time. Of course, driven by cheaper, affordable smartphones and almost ubiquitous present low-cost data, right? Now we are almost talking about 500 million Indians online and accessing the internet primarily through the remote. And so internet is no longer English male audience. It has penetrated well, deeper and well beyond that. And any sensible marketer will tell you that, they have to cater the communication according to the customer, right? So I know there are chunks of people on internet, like we are talking about literally tens of millions of people actively engaged in languages like a Telugu, like a Bengali, like a Tamil or a Marathi. So I think it is very, very important that our communications to these people, be it the classic upper funnel brand campaigns or be it the classic lower funnel conversion lead campaigns. I think those should speak the language of the consumer. In fact, at Facebook, our ad solutions also sort of dynamically cater to that. And I won't go into details, but at a very top level, what it does is it has the ability to dynamically change some of the languages based on the content, the language of the content that the consumer consumes, right? So the short answer again is yes, vernacular is an important way, and it will only become more important as more and more people keep engaging.
Superb, Rajiv. Go on.
Yeah. One point on this has been a long debate in real estate, whether to go for vernacular, regional language, it's been there. What we have done and what I have seen in the local housing, affordable housing, or whether it's a premium, you need to be a bit clear about your brand imagery and the positioning that one is taking. If my positioning is premium and luxury, I will not be doing anything. I keep it aspirational, so the guy who sees the ad in Times of India or anywhere else, that aspirational is there and my imagery is intact. For example, we did one, we have a project in Kandivali, and we said that it's a Gujarati community surrounded area, so let's do an ad in Gujarati. But that didn't give us results. So it is wrong to say that, if you have a project and you are targeting certain community and do it in that language, it will help you to get results. It may not. It depends if you are doing a segment-wise breakup. Yes, it works. Certain segment, whether it's a low cost, whether it's an affordable segment, to an extent maybe lower premium segment, but may not be for all the projects. So it is not a clear decision that, I have a project, let me do vernacular and go to tier 2, tier 3 cities and make it, lead collection through vernacular language and content. it may not work because your creative needs to be changed. Your creative imagery is more critical, and how you keep an aspirational value to your premium and luxury projects.
Got it, Rajiv. Aspiration is a key factor. Yeah, Chajay, go on.
Interestingly, what we're seeing currently is that there is other languages apart from Dubai as a market has primarily driven is in communication, especially from a real estate perspective. But over the last couple of years, we've been seeing a tremendous shift, being supplemented with Chinese as well as with Arabic. And it's the same product which is being communicated to different consumer segments. With both Riza and Rajiv and Gaurav, of course, needs to remain paramount, and how you communicate the brand. But most importantly, the consumer segment that you're targeting, is it assimilating the communication that you're sending across? Is it making it contextually relevant at the end of the day? And is it giving a sort of a push and a prod to actually inquire more about your product? So I think that's what it is. So and we've been seeing a lot of Chinese investors come into Dubai, a lot of Arabic, when we're targeting the local Arabic community, the Emiratis or the Qataris or the Bahrainis, or the Saudis. We've been forced to use Arabic at that point of time. So obviously there is contextual messaging behind it.
So probably we would soon see SD Corp or Embassy having a regional launches.
Excuse me, Rahul.
Yeah.
Hi, Rahul. Ronit here. We're just running short of time. If you could kindly.
Super. So thank you. I would have loved to continue this session. There are super viewpoints, but just to summarize, is the performance. I love the viewpoint of Gaurav talking about as compared to global comparatives. India is not that behind. It's very much at the peak of its journey. And definitely, I'm looking at how marketers will be using this space more and more to build ROI as well as build image for the brand is concerned. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.